I've always felt like I've had to prove myself. Every job, being a female coach, being a manager, being a female player, we had to fight for everything. That hasn't changed, I'm still fighting, but I'm fighting for the players now.
Hello everybody, welcome to the Sit Down presented by Visa. Delighted to be welcomed by Casey Stoney. Thanks for this.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, great to see you. We're here ahead of the She Believes Cup. So 3 big games for you, but you've had a lot of time to be ready for them. So in the forefront of your mind as you put together the squad and the plans for this, what was really the main objectives that you wanted to accomplish here?
I think the main objectives were to get the group in a place of togetherness, unity, cohesion, and a little bit more belief. We're not going to ignore the fact we've had a difficult year, but we said last year was about learning, 2026 is about the response. And obviously considering all positions, all players, all profiles, how can we make sure that we've got a squad that's really competitive, knowing that this is an important tournament in our preparation in 2026.
Interesting. So you mentioned belief then. So as a leader who looks at a team that is obviously very talented, many people have won tournaments, gold medals, but have come off 5 losses in a row. What do you need to do then to feel like that you need to instill that belief? What do you need to do to help that?
I think for me, it's really about calmness and consistency of messaging, because this team hasn't experienced this before, but I'm very aware we've intentionally picked really challenging games. You know, we went to Japan, we played the Dutch, we played the Swiss off the back of a major tournament, you know, in terms of being tournament ready. So I think it's about being calm, sticking to the process, understanding where we're at, understanding the complexities of the transition period that we're going through, and not getting too high or too low. You know, I think it's about reminding the players how good they can be. I think belief comes from preparation and clarity as well. So making sure that the players know their roles, knowing where there's freedom within the framework, building the players up. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to, I would say, pick our strongest team pretty much for an entire year based on injuries and unavailability, but that's no excuse. You know, one door closes for one player, it opens for another. This is a tournament where we're going to look at other players as well, so it's an exciting opportunity for many, many reasons. You
mentioned not getting too high, not too low. I was watching an interview with you recently when you said, as a player, you found that harder than you do as a coach. So that must be at the forefront of your mind too, that you're dealing with these players. It's one thing to say it, another thing to live it. So how do you make sure that they can do that?
I think it's about my behaviours. Like as a player, if I lost a game, it ruined my entire week. You know, I think now as a leader, you know, I have to role model the behaviours that I want in the players. I think I have a 24-hour rule. Whether you've won and it's a really good performance, or whether you've lost and it's a really poor performance, you've got to move on. You've got to learn, grow, no matter wins and losses, and you've got to move on. It's about like next action mentality, like how can we be better, how can we improve? And then picking up on the good things, catching people when they're good. We're pretty good, I think, society-wise at catching people when they're not good, but we got to flip the mentality there and make sure that we're celebrating the wins that we have got, making sure that we're expressing when people are doing well, you know, building belief and confidence back in the players, because it has dipped. Of course it's going to dip when you've had the results that we've had, but we've got 3 new opportunities now to turn that around.
Can I ask you about resilience? I want to talk to you about your own personal resilience in a minute, but for this team, are you able to look ahead and think what you've gone through actually could be a good thing? You've got so many reference points in your own life where you've been through them and then come through the stronger. Do you still believe that this could be a time where, obviously you don't want to lose 5 games in a row, but in the end, the big picture, World Cup qualifying and everything for the World Cup, that this could actually be better for you?
100%. I think when I look at my career as a player, the good times came from the bad times. You know, we have to have adversity. It also shows us what characters we want along the journey, what players we want on the bus when we get to qualifying, because it's easy when it's good and you're winning. It's not so easy when you're in adversity. So like, who are the ones that are going to roll the sleeves up? Who are the ones going to show leadership and character and problem solving when it's not good? You know, that tells us a lot about the people that we want as a collective, staff and players on the journey with us. And you have to have resilience in sport. Everybody's trying to win. There can only be one winner, but it's like, what steps are we taking? How are we making sure that we don't go too high, too low, and we're continuing on the growth? And this is a good team. This is a gold medal team. You know, we've had a lot of transition. There's players that aren't here anymore that contributed massively to scoring goals and making this team great. But we've got to look to the future. And it's how we can make sure we invest in the players that we've got now so that come November we can qualify for a World Cup.
You mentioned the gold medal. It's obviously a massive part of the sport and these players' careers. the difficult Olympics that followed have left scars. Do you think they're still there, or are they patched up?
I think they were definitely still here when I came in. Building trust was difficult at first as a technical team, as a head coach. I felt they were very, I think the boundaries were set, the walls were up. And I think it's about doing what you say you're going to do every single day, about your behaviours, about your consistency. And on a personal level, I wasn't able to deliver my best last year.
Right.
You know, so I think that was a big part of it. I think I'm in a different space now, which is positive for the team, positive for me on a personal level. But I think there has been scars. I think we've worked hard over a year to build those relationships, build those trusts, and that's ongoing, you know, because it's built in drops and lost in buckets.
Like that. You have said that you're a player's coach, and again, I appreciate that you shared what you do with me. I'm so glad everything's a lot better now. What can you tell me, though, about what you shared with the players to continue that trust? You've just been honest and vulnerable with me there by saying you weren't at your best. What was that journey like for you as you came into this camp to gain that trust back with the players to be open and honest?
Exactly what I said. We weren't at our best, and I wasn't at my best. I gave what I had to give, 100% of what I had, but that wasn't good enough because of my personal circumstances. But I think what they saw was a human being. They saw someone who was struggling. They saw someone who was going through something extremely difficult, and I gave them everything I got, but it wasn't what I needed to give them. And I feel like I'm in a space where I can do that now. I think they deserve that. And I think showing that vulnerability, I think, is important to players because that builds trust as well. And I think I've been able to be very present in this camp and in the lead into this camp, and the support that we've given between the last camp and this one. I debriefed that entire year with every single player and every single member of staff as well. You know, so there was a lot of learning there, and it's about making us stronger as a program moving forward.
And they can relate to you, can they not? But I mean, we mentioned highs and lows. It's probably the theme of this interview a little bit. I mean, your journey, I mean, I look at you as someone who's really tough. Like, to think about some of the things that you've been through, and obviously not playing in 2005, and the story that you talked about and building that afterwards, taking the leadership role away from you and live on television as a captain of the national team, injuries, getting sacked when you're in England, different things like that. The real lows that you've had, how have you made sure that complements you and you get better from it, but you don't be bitter in that aspect?
I think you've got to learn from those moments. Like, they're always fuel. Like, I've always felt like I've had to prove myself in every situation, every job, being a female coach, being a manager, being a female player. We had to fight for everything. That hasn't changed. I'm still fighting, but I'm fighting for the players now. I want to improve the circumstances for them. I want to make sure that we're a good team, that we can perform. And I think you learn, you grow. Like, and actually, it doesn't define you. I think your setbacks make you. You have difficult, challenging times, and it's about like, okay, what can I take from this moment that I can learn from that then aids me in the future, whether it being left out of squads, whether it being sacked, whether it being, you know, you've got injuries. The good thing that I can do is I can really live in the players' shoes, and I can understand where they're coming from because I've lived every situation. I've been left out of squads, I've been left out of teams, I've had lack of communication from my manager, and also I'm not afraid to say when I get it wrong. You know, if I don't get it right, we have an honest conversation, and I'm like, right, I mismanaged that, how can I get it right next time? Because ultimately I'm here to help the players, to set them up for success, to make sure that they can perform, and if I'm not doing that, then I'm not doing my job. So I think I've had a lot of life experiences, I have a lot of experiences in the game. This wasn't always my job. I worked a full-time job, trained in the evenings, trained in the mornings. So I've got the work ethic, I've got the desire, I've got the love for the game. Like, this is my life, you know? So I want to give everything I can to this team to make sure that we can be successful.
I wanted to go there, you did, so let's go there next. The way that the game has professionalized and moved over the last few years has been, I think, remarkable is a fair word to do it. It may still not be enough. Where are you in your mindset in the whole, and where this game is right now on the women's side?
I think it's in the most positive place it's ever been. I think there's always an element of caution with me because I'm like, right, how do we make sure as the visibility is growing, as that more eyes, more pressure, more expectation, that we equip the players to be able to deal with it. That, you know, the expectations and the pressure, we kind of alleviate that a little bit. We can't stop the outside world talking, we can't stop the negatives, we can't stop the pressures, but how do we protect them and equip them to be able to deal with it? I think also the game's moving financially, you know, extremely. The club demands are becoming more, international camps are getting fewer. So actually utilising the time we've got, making sure that we're really clear on our processes, our game model, the way we want to play, our principles, supporting the players between camps is, we have to work smarter, you know, not harder sometimes. But there's still work to be done. Grassroots, getting more girls playing the game, improving the leagues, improving the club support. I think there's still work, a lot of work to be done.
What about women's sports in general? I don't want to get political with you for your own sake. I know you love where you live, but the inappropriate comments by the President of the United States recently, I'm sure you saw it, has made massive headlines around the world about you know, almost disregarding the women's hockey achievements in the Olympics over the men's. When you hear that and how much work you've personally seen and put into the women's sports, what do you think?
I find it extremely frustrating, but at the same time, I recognise whose mouth it's come out of. So I kind of brush it aside. I also think women's sport is being watched by more. There's more money coming into women's sports. Like, people genuinely love it, you know? And is it threatening? Yeah, it threatens the old establishment. So there's a part to that, but at the same time, we have a responsibility. You know, I've always said this. As a player, I had a responsibility to leave the shirt in a better place. As a mother to 2 daughters and a little boy that I want to grow up to respect women and know that they're strong and powerful leaders and that they are capable of anything, I have a responsibility to make sure that I stand for what I believe in, which is everybody should have access to sport, everybody should be treated the same. And I think sport has is such a powerful vehicle and tool to make sure that society respects women and treats women in the right way. Unfortunately, we can't change certain people's attitudes, but all we can do is keep making sure that the advert on the pitch is good, that we're putting our players out as role models, that I'm a role model, and that you know, the women, whatever country and whatever nation, if they're successful, just keep doing it, because it's just going to keep disrupting, and that's what we want.
I love that. Very well said. On that note then, when people are outside the bubble of women's sports, do you think that maybe they're not quite informed enough that maybe that is almost more important than wins and losses? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, when we look at other sports, we've always been conditioned to go judge that team because they've won, judge that team because they've lost. But there feels like something happening right now that, I'm not disregarding the wins and losses, of course, but is far more important and powerful in our time as human beings, no? Absolutely.
There's more context to everything. And I think if you think about the world and the global leadership, like, how many of them are female? But yet we've got so many, I think, fantastic female leaders and coaches within the sporting environment. I think also it's about, you've got to see where the sports come from. Like, generally, I'm not just talking about soccer, football, like women's sport, we've had to fight so hard for the bare minimum. You know, we've had to overcome adversity. Just to play the game we love. You know, just to be present and have an opportunity, like even England, it was banned for 50 years, you know? So to be in the position we are now, I think with a greater education about what we need, a greater education around the female body and how it works, you know, making sure that we've got the right resources to perform and be successful. Like, let's, I think, sometimes take a step back and not look at the wins and the losses and look how far we've come, but how far we've got to go, and then putting into action what we need to support elite athletes, but also why is the next little girl going to pick up a ball and play? Right. You know, that's a duty we take really, I think, seriously.
Many people might not be aware of this, but you worked at Manchester United, arguably the biggest club in the world. It isn't that long ago I was reading and watching you saying that you didn't have training facilities and you were shoveling snow off with a road sign. Like, that's Manchester United, you know, and maybe it's moved on a little bit since then, but it shows the work to be done, no?
Yeah, there's lots of work to be done, and that's why I get kind of frustrated sometimes when people talk about performance and talk about like the players and their levels, and I'm like, well, they don't have the same resources, they haven't had the same training history, they haven't had the same coaching, they haven't had the same access to facilities, so we are behind. But look how quickly we're growing now, and look at how many people want to watch women's sports and how accessible it is to people. So we just want to continue on that trend of growing it. I think it's important that organisations, clubs invest in the women's game, because it's only going to go in one direction.
And from a Canada soccer women's point of view, I think it's clear that everyone would agree that the program needs consistency and some stability.
Yeah.
Are you happy that you're the one who can provide that? I presume you are still really happy. I know you love the club game.
Yes.
You don't get to coach on a daily basis, but are you happy to be that kind of person that can bring that stability?
I love my job. I think it's a privilege. I'm so privileged to be in the position that I'm in. I think I'm not Canadian, I can't hide away from that, but I think actually being English and representing a different country and Canada and getting to know the people and the values of the people, it comes with an even deeper responsibility, really, to make sure this program is successful. I'm honoured to be in this position. I take it very seriously. I miss the day-to-day, absolutely.
Right.
But I think when I'm on camp and I'm working with players and I'm around this group, I know why I'm doing it and I know the bigger picture. And I think it is about stability and it's about investing in our youth teams and making sure that our pathway is good and making sure the Canadian soccer landscape is fruitful for the young players coming through.
And we've got a men's World Cup this year and a women's World Cup next year. How impressed over a year in now have you been with that organisation that you represent and those people within it to give you the need and the resources that you want?
Yeah, I think I would say the one word I'd say is I've had fantastic support across the board for what we need, what we're trying to do, understanding of where we're going, the transition period that we're in and the objectives that we're trying to set out. I think it's at such an exciting time with the World Cup being in Canada and obviously Jessie at the helm and the excitement around that and the exposure that it's going to give the game within Canada. I'm hoping many more young boys and girls get invested in the game, start playing, more coaches, go on their coaching pathway and that it continues to grow the game in Canada.
And the culture that you're trying to set now as we start a new year and obviously coming back off the difficult year last year, are you where you want to be a year in?
I think so. Yeah, we've had ups and downs, but I kind of anticipated these. I learnt a lot about the team, about the players, about how we want to play, and what we're capable of. And I think we're on an upward trend. Japan was a difficult camp,
right? But
you're also playing one of the best teams in the world on their home soil after a lot of travel in league periods that were difficult for people. So I'm very, I think, optimistic about where we're at. We've still got a lot of work to do. So I'm realistic as well. And I think these 3 games will give us a good kind of barometer of where we are.
One of the many things I picked up from a lot of the interviews I watched for you was the moldy strawberry syndrome.
Yeah.
Can you explain to the viewers what that is?
Yeah, so, I call them furry, moldy. Like, if you go in the fridge, one day you've got like one furry strawberry, the next day you can guarantee the next 3 around it are furry. And my analogy is like, if you have people in your environment that maybe aren't having the right behaviours for the team, maybe a little bit toxic, like negativity can spread. So can positivity. So my analogy is like, if I go in the fridge and there's a furry strawberry, I'm chucking it away. Because I want to remove that, because then everything else the environment can stay what we want it to be. Right. I think that's the same in any culture, in any environment. Like, I think if you have, and I think there's interventions, there's ways you can help people, but I'm like, if you can't change the people, change the people. So right. I think it's really important, especially when you're in an international environment, you're in an elite environment, high performance, there's going to be demands, there's going to be standards, but there's an accountability piece, but there's also a cultural piece around like, are we here for the team? Are we doing the right things daily to make sure the team can be successful? Because we're all internally selfishly driven. We all want to do the best for ourselves, and that's natural. And as an elite athlete, you have to do those things. But at the same time, if I'm not doing the right things for the team, then I shouldn't probably be in the team environment.
And obviously you made some big choices for this squad. You've answered it, and I'm not expect you to get too much into the ones that aren't here. But when you're a national team coach, how much work do you put into finding out about these players before you bring them in for the first time? And is it truly something you can't really do until they're in the camp?
I think you can find out more from club environments. I think you can reference people that have played with them, against them. I think when you're bringing someone into the environment, first of all, you're checking performance. Then you're going like, okay, what behaviours are we bringing into the environment? Are they going to complement what we've already got and strengthen what we've already got? And are they going to be able to cope and handle the pressures, expectations and the demands of an international environment? And I think you have to do your background. I think when you talk to a player, you're always going to get the right answers. Yeah. So it's about the coaches that they work with, what are they like in the gym? If you're giving them 12 reps, are they doing 10 or are they doing 14? They're the types of things that you're looking at. And are they coachable? Do they want to improve? Are they committed to what you want to do? And do they really understand the honour and the privilege that comes with representing your country?
Fascinating. the attack when it comes to getting more goals. You alluded to that,
Yeah.
the opening interview press conference that you said we need to score more goals. You actually started well and got quite a few goals. It's dried up a little bit. What needs to happen to ignite that? And I know Olivia Smith's no longer here with you, but what needs to happen for the team to be able to create more chances?
I think it's been one of the challenges is trying to build relationships when we've had to change the team every camp, you know, with injuries and people not being available. That is one challenge, but at the same time, I think if we can remove a little bit of fear, be a little bit more creative in the final third, I think we've got to improve our set plays, you know, defensively and offensively, which we've had a big focus on this camp. I think being able to put players in positions and get players in positions. So, like, yes, possess the ball, but let's possess the ball with a purpose to break the back line. Then we're in the back line. And it's about being clinical. You know, we had multiple chances against Switzerland that we didn't take, you know. So when we're in those positions, can we remain calm? Can we execute? Can we finish? But we need to create more of them, you know. So a key focus of, like, how do we keep them out of our penalty box? How do we enter their penalty box more? How do we pick players that are a little bit more fearless and hungry in the box, and set the team up for success that way?
Last couple for you, and again, you've been so gracious with your time. You're smiling a lot when you've been here, and I've noticed even on the training pitch. You love this, yeah?
I love it, yeah. I like I said, it's a privilege, especially with this group of players and in this position. I'm excited about what's ahead. Like, I look at Annabelle and Kaylee, and I'm like, the future of the program's so bright. I'm excited. Like, it's not, I don't often get too excited about players, like, because I've been around good players, but there's certain players that I'm like, this is exciting times ahead. And if we can just get the balance right, if we can keep everyone fit and available, and we can continue to grow, knowing that we're going to have dips. Like, this is not going to be perfect. We don't have Christine Sinclair's goals anymore. You know, we've got to find ways to score different goals. We've got to make sure that we're more resilient and hard to beat, and find ways to win. I think once that starts to happen, I think confidence and belief will continue to grow back into the team. And we've got a lot of interesting tests coming up.
And as a mom of Teddy, Tilly, Willow, how has post-playing suited you? I know it's been a transition. Every time I speak to ex-players, it's always difficult. I know being in the game certainly helps, but, like, as you've moved on and you got away from playing and you've become a mom and you're living there, like, how is that life treating you now?
Well, obviously, I think the biggest thing for me with, like, having kids is, like, they kind of changed my purpose and my why, because everything I do is for them. Definitely, they're going to arrive here today, so it's like definitely comes with its challenges of, like, being away. And last year was extremely difficult. I was home for about 3 weeks in 7 months, like, so that came with different challenges. So being able to have them on camp and around the environment, it also comes with challenges, because when you get fired, like, it doesn't just impact you, like, it impacts the whole family. And having to tell my kids that I've been fired, we can't go home, we're kind of stuck, and that had a massive impact on me, because I was like, right, okay, it's not just about me, it's about them, their life, their future. But everything I do, every morning I get up, everything I'm driven towards is, like, how can I provide a better future for them? How can I make sure they have the opportunities that maybe I didn't have? And how can I show them that, you know, work ethic is really important, leadership is really important, that you can be a strong female role model. And, like, yeah, they just, I would say they've calmed me. Some people might say they haven't, but and I look at Kaylin now, and having the baby here, and the difference I've seen in her of, like, who she is now as a mum, and it does shape you, it changes you, and it just changes the purpose of why you do things.
I love it. Last one for you, then let's move it back to the team. We're beginning 2026 now. When you vision the end of 2026, what does a successful year look like for Casey Stoney on and off the pitch for this program?
Improved performances, qualification for World Cup and Olympics, exposure to more younger players through the program, and a real clear identity of the way we play.
Very well said. Thank you so much for your time. All the best in the She Believes Cup.
Thank you very much. Thanks.